The Fisher's Freight, 7 games into the 2026 season. Hard to believe we're hitting the halfway point of the season this Saturday night when the Freight traveled to Orlando to take on the Pirates. It's time for another episode of Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner with head coach Dixie Wooten. I am the broadcast voice of the Freight, Andrew Smith. Glad you have joined us this week. And, Coach, great to see you again as hard to believe we're already at the midpoint of the season. It feels like yesterday we're just kicking it off on opening night. But as we get to game 8 here this Saturday night in Orlando, what have you liked about your team through this 5-2 start?
I feel like we're doing some great things, Andrew. We're growing every game, of course. We keep fighting. These guys are fighters, but also their IQs are getting better and better every week. So around this time, it's 7 games. 5-2 is not bad at all.
Yeah, and the 2 losses, both to Green Bay, you had a really, really good back and forth game. And really both of those games could have gone either way. Essentially came down to one possession. Saturday night, 57-52 loss. But that kind of sets up now you're 5-2, Green Bay 6-1. You've got Orlando and Jacksonville in that mix as well. And feels like you're going to have several teams battling it out for 4 playoff spots in the division. How important are these next 3 weeks as you go to Orlando and then you play Jacksonville twice here, really the next 4 weeks because there's a bye week in between. But how important are these next 3 games to really set the table for the latter third of the season?
It's super important, because it's all about trying to get yourself in the right situation to be, getting seeded or getting the playoffs. But at the end of the day, as long as you're getting better and better as the games go on, that's when you set yourself up for success. There's like 7 games going 5-2. It's a lot of teams wish they was 5-2 right now. But at the end of the day, you got a tough Orlando team we play and also a tough Jacksonville back-to-back. It kind of shows us these last 7 games that it kind of shows us who we are. And I feel like, when we make mistakes, we have a chance to lose. But when we're playing good football, it's hard to beat us.
You feel like your team got better Saturday, even despite the result. And what did you learn from your team Saturday night?
Yes, I feel like we got better. It was situations we could have put the game away like before the first half. We had a chance to go up 3 possessions. We got to make that catch and we got to keep the drive going. And then also, at the end of the first half, we kick a field goal. We hit that. We up by 10. So when we watched the film today, we made a lot of mistakes when it came to us. But at the end of the day, Green Bay has a good team and they executed and they made all the plays that they needed to do and we didn't.
Yeah, it felt like there were 2 turning points in that game. And one of them you mentioned right before the half. Cornelius Montgomery with a really nice punch out. Marcus Gray recovers the fumble. You've given yourself an extra possession in the last minute, leading by 14 points, and then a 3-and-out gives them another possession. They take advantage and make it a 7-point game at halftime. Then first possession of the second half, and they've got 3rd and 24, and their quarterback makes a nice play on a scramble and is able to convert that for a first down. They score on that drive. How important were those 2 plays and really being turning points to give them the momentum going into the second half and the latter part of the second half?
It was everything to them, Andrew. Like we had a 14-point lead. So if when we got the fumble, we had a chance to go put the game away and go up 3 possessions. So now it's a different ball game. So now they're trying to score before the half. They're trying to kick onside kicks and everything, try to get an extra possession back. But since we didn't execute on that last drive, they was able to score, get the ball back and score, and then they came out and got a stop. And now we was behind 7, coming back, this and that, coming back, and then we got a fumble at the end that kind of put us away.
When you're facing an offense like theirs, and they have been playing really well, and Liam Thompson got hot, and we've seen through 7 games, he's very quickly become one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Does that put a lot of pressure on your offense to try to match what they're doing, especially once it got to 30-30 and it got to 36-30, and then you're trading the lead back and forth? Felt like every possession. That was a classic indoor football game on Saturday night, especially in the second half.
Yeah, big time. Liam, one thing about him is he's going to come to play no matter where you're at. And he's a great quarterback in this league because he doesn't turn the ball over. He always get him a chance to, try to score. But, it was fun to see us get him to fumble the football. But other than that, when he got hot at the end of the second half, he couldn't miss. So, our offense, we did a good job executing to keep up with them, but we put ourselves in a situation of not scoring before the half and the fumble at close to the end of the game. That's what really, really killed us.
It felt like that fumble was their defensive lineman made a great play, but in a game like that where it's one possession either way, that turnover ends up really being the game. It just felt like that second half was going to come down to which team got a defensive stop, and unfortunately for the Freight, it was Green Bay that ended up getting that stop.
Yeah, that's how it is, Andrew. You want to try to maintain the ball because a turnover in this game it will hurt you big time. And at the end of the day, they had a turnover, but they turned the ball over in the first half. Ours was we was down by 4, and we was going to score, and it was like 2nd and 2. So getting a turnover on 2nd and 2, that's devastating.
I really liked the way the game started. I felt like offensively, you're mixing the run and pass. Felix had a couple of big plays in the passing game, a big third down conversion to Isaiah Coulter. CJ Wyndham had a long catch on the first drive. And then you scored on your first 4 possessions. What'd you like about the way that you were keeping them off balance with the way Felix was throwing the ball and your offensive line was opening holes for Josiah King in the running game?
It was huge, man. Like you said, when we first started, we had a game plan. We was going through it, and we was like, I think like 5 for 5 on the first 5 drives. Like if you look at us doing in every other game, we score almost every possession. And that was the part in the first half. It was just when it came down to that last drive in the first half, that's the one that really bit us when we came down to it. But overall, our offensive line did a great job. Felix did a great job, making plays in the RPO game, making plays in the run game, also giving those guys some great passes. So, I think we was going on all cylinders, but it's those in the indoor game, 2 drives can mess up the whole game for you.
How good was it to get Josiah King back? Had 90 yards, which by my count, 4th highest single game total in team history on the ground, and just adding the element that he has with his speed and ability to hit the hole quickly and put pressure on defenses because he can break a play anytime he can get into the open field.
Oh, no, Josiah King is one of the best running backs in this league. The way that he run the football, the way that he read his keys with the O-line. But the crazy part is the way he get yak yards. Like he never go down from the first tackle. Having him make our job easy because the O-line, all they got to do is open up a little gap and he's going to hit it. He's fast, he's quick, he's everything that a running back needs to be. So he's solid for us and he make us a lot better.
We talk about that running game, but also your receiving core. Isaiah Coulter, good to have him back in the lineup. I know he missed a couple of games, and JT Stokes has always been an elite guy and a really versatile guy, but being able to add CJ Wyndham, the guy who's had some championship experience, to those guys that's able to make some big plays downfield in the passing game, how much has he helped improve what was already a deep receiving core?
Like he brought the attitude, he brought the understanding, he brought the toughness, but also he brought the football IQ. Last year with Vegas, he won a championship. It's never easy to win a championship in the IFL. So he brought the understanding how to come in here and work. And a lot of the young guys look at him and see how he work on the practice field, and they follow his footsteps. So, having guys like that, like CJ in the building, he makes it better because a lot of young guys follow him and understand the way he work, they want to work. So, he bring big time talent to us, but the mind, the IQ of football is what I see that he's bringing to the table a lot more.
And last week as well, you went back to something we saw a lot last year, which was the 4 lineman formation with LaQuinston Sharp as an extra fullback. What does that do as far as opening up holes and just giving you an extra blocker in the running game?
So, like when you have the big O-line, the big 4 O-linemen in, it basically, take away the D-line. So now the linebackers got to make tackles. That's why when we got in the big set, we was able to break big plays because now the linebackers have to make more plays than that D-line because the Green Bay D-line is amazing. They got 3 of the best D-linemen in the league, So we isolate them with other big guys, and we led up on a linebacker, and they safeties and other linebacker had to make the tackle. So that's what we had to do against Green Bay.
Well, and looking at that as well, feel like it's a chess match. You and Corey Roberson are very good friends to begin with, but is there an enjoyable chess match? I'm sure it's not as fun while you're in the midst of a game trying to figure out what they're doing and them trying to adjust to what you're doing. But when you've got an opportunity to match wits with somebody who is like you, an elite coach at this level who's been at it a long time, yeah, how enjoyable is that from a coaching perspective?
It's fun because Corey, like I call him, he's my brother from another mother. So yeah, like me and him are great friends, man. But it's fun to coach against him because he make all the adjustments that he need to make. So you got to stay on your p's and q's and make the adjustments and things like that. So we play chess on Saturdays, and he had to checkmate on the fumble. So I called him after the game, told me he did a great job of matching everything that we do, and we match everything that he did. But when he called the play and his guys came up and made the fumble, that was his checkmate.
Felt like in the second half they were doing a good job of covering downfield, and that, however, meant your checkdowns were open. And Quinston Sharp got a catch on one of those as well, which is always fun to see the big guys carrying the football. But how good was it for Felix making the adjustments and taking what the defense gave him?
It was fun because that showed his growth on an everyday through the season. Usually he'll look downfield, try to throw something downfield, but he had a lot of check downs on Saturday. So he's getting better and better. He's seeing a lot. He's seeing it better. So I think in the future, man, Felix is going to be. He's going to be top of. Like, he's already a great quarterback, but he's going to be in a situation where he's gonna have a chance to win a championship here. And this year we got a good chance, but we just got to get better every day. But Felix is a big reason why we're 5-2 right now.
You head to Orlando this week. Never easy to win on the road, but you're facing another very good team. And what are your thoughts on them from what you've seen on video so far?
Man, they the real deal. They big, they physical, they fast. They got great quarterback play, they got great receiver play, they got great D line play and defensive back play. They got a team all across the board. We just got to make them look at it as they got to recognize our formations. They got to be able to play D on our run game, but also they're gonna have to be able to score with our passing game. On the defensive side. So we got our work cut out for us, but I feel like we got a plan in place where we can go in and steal one.
Well, they're a team that I know they throw the ball a lot. They throw it well, and their quarterback Paxton Delorant has had a really, really good start to the year. Kind of like Felix, very efficient, over a 70% completion percentage, and also a dual threat guy. And what kind of challenges does that pose? You're facing another guy who's a really good quarterback with his arm, but he also can beat you with his legs, and trying to keep him contained both in the running game and the passing game.
It's tough, man, because at the end of the day, he make a lot of great throws. So he's the type of quarterback that'll fit it in when you think you got somebody covered. Next thing you know, they got a completion. So by him doing that, you got to respect his passing game. So when you put that guy extra in the passing game, now the running game can hurt you. So we're trying to get a good balance of making sure we protect the run, but protect the pass as well. Because, again, he's a big quarterback that can see everything. Nothing can get in his face. And he can figure it out, and he can throw a good ball. So, I'm looking forward to the challenge, but it's going to definitely be a challenge because he's pretty good.
And offensively, I guess one of the best ways you can deal with a really good quarterback is don't let him touch the football. How important is it going to be to continue to establish that running game that has been so good for you this year, to be able to grind out drives and essentially limit the number of possessions, the number of opportunities he has to touch the football in the game?
Absolutely. That's what we have to do. That's the good thing about having a run game. We got to run the ball, we got to throw screens, and we got to make sure instead of having 11 play possession game, we want like a 7 to 8 possession game. So now every possession has to count, and if he throw an interception or something like that, it'd be bad against him. But if we go out there, Andrew, and have an 11, 12 possession game, that's playing into Orlando's favor.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time, and good luck this weekend in Orlando.
Appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner with head coach Dixie Wooten. The Freight traveled to Orlando this week and then back home at the Fishers Event Center next Saturday, May 16th, to take on the Jacksonville Sharks. That will be a 7 o'clock kickoff. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com and head on over to FishersFreightFootball.com for all of your freight news information, as well as how to pick up tickets for every one of the remaining Fisher's Freight home games. Until next time, I am Andrew Smith. Thanks for watching this edition of Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner.